In Lagos, Nigeria, where mango trees shade family gatherings, Zanille was born into a home where tradition ruled everything. Her family loved her, but love came with expectations. From the moment she learned to walk, everyone spoke about her future as if it was already decided. Zanille will make a good wife, they'd say. One day she'll marry a man who provides for her. That was their measure of success for a woman marriage, nothing more. But the loudest voice was always her uncle, Obesai. He wasn't harsh, but his words felt heavier than stones. Women need a man to show them the way, he'd say. Without a man, they're just leaves in the wind. Those words stuck with Zanille, repeating in her mind like a drumbeat. Yet, even as a little girl, there was something in her that didn't agree. While other girls played house or learned to cook, Zanille sat quietly sketching ideas for businesses in an old notebook. Her family didn't notice. They only saw a girl who needed to marry well one day. At family parties, Obesai's voice always cut through the laughter. Zanille, leave these things for the men. It wasn't just talk. When opportunities came, like scholarships or extra lessons, they went to the boys in the family. Zanille's education wasn't a priority. But she didn't argue. She listened, learned, and quietly made her own plans. At just 14, she started cleaning floors at the local market, saving up money in secret. Her dream wasn't marriage. It was building something of her own. Still, Obesai's words followed her everywhere. You'll never be anything without a man. But Zanille never believed that fully. There was always a quiet fire in her heart, burning steady. A voice inside her that said, maybe there's another way. Maybe she didn't have to be a leaf in the wind. Maybe she could become the tree. While other girls spent afternoons learning to cook or braid hair, Zanille would sit alone under the mango trees, notebook open, sketching ideas. A clothing line, a transport business, even an app idea, back when hardly anyone had smartphones. Her dreams felt big, but big dreams didn't fill plates at dinner. Each time she shared her ideas, her uncle Obesai would shake his head slowly, his voice calm but final. Zanille, my child, leave these things for the men. Those words stung more than a slap. It wasn't just talk. Zanille saw it happen. Scholarships always went to her male cousins. Family money helped pay for the boys' education, while Zanille's name was never mentioned. She understood early that if she wanted a future, she'd have to build it herself. At 14, she made her first move. Zanille got a job cleaning floors in the local market. It wasn't glamorous. Her hands stayed rough from scrubbing. But she wasn't just cleaning, she was saving. Every naira counted. While wiping down stalls, she'd keep one earphone in, listening to business lessons on a borrowed phone. Her friends didn't get it. They laughed, saying, why work so hard? Find a good man instead. But Zanille couldn't shake the feeling she was meant for more. Even as she mopped, Obesai's voice rang in her head like a stubborn bell. You'll never be anything without a man. But she kept working, quiet, focused. It wasn't anger that pushed her. It was a steady flame in her chest. She wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong. She just couldn't let her own dream die. Zanille knew the world wouldn't hand her a seat at the table, so she planned to build her own table, even if it meant starting with nothing but a notebook, a mop, and a borrowed phone. In Zanille's family, marriage wasn't just important, it was everything. Her uncle Obesai believed a woman's life only truly began when she found a husband. And it wasn't just him. Neighbors, aunties, everyone around thought the same way. Success meant having a husband, children, and a home. By 22, her cousin Themba was already married, running the family business passed down to him. His wedding was a grand event, with music, dancing, and speeches about legacy and responsibility. But while Themba was celebrated, Zanille was met with constant questions. Zanille, when will you settle down? Your uncle knows a good man for you. Some even whispered behind her back, wondering if something was wrong with her. But Zanille wasn't interested in marrying just to tick a box. She had seen too many women full of dreams suddenly drop everything once they married. Women she admired became shadows of themselves, trading ambition for quiet homes and endless chores. Zanille respected marriage, but she knew it wasn't her only path, so she chose to stay single. It wasn't because she didn't believe in love or family. It was because her heart wasn't finished building yet. Her mission wasn't complete. She wanted her own success first, something with her name on it, not tied to anyone else. Zanil understood the whispers, the stares, the pressure, but she didn't let it break her focus. She kept working, kept growing, even as the family wondered why she was so different. Obasai especially couldn't understand her choice. To him, it made no sense. Without a man, he'd say, a woman is lost. But Zanil didn't feel lost. She felt steady, walking her own path even if no one else saw the road she was on. Her vision was clear. Love could wait. Her dream couldn't. After finishing her technical college, fully paid for with her own cleaning and market job earnings, Zanil took a step no one expected. She didn't look for a husband or a stable office job. Instead, she rented a tiny one-room space far from the busy center of Lagos. The room was almost empty. Just one desk, a chair, and an old laptop she borrowed from a friend. It didn't look like much, but to Zanil it was everything. That small room was the first real piece of her dream. Her plan was simple but bold. Start a logistics company made for small African businesses. In Lagos, big delivery companies focused on large shops and rich clients. But Zanil had seen firsthand how the smaller market sellers and artisans struggled to get their goods delivered. Nobody helped them. She wanted to fill that gap. It wasn't about becoming rich overnight. It was about building something that truly mattered. In her first month, she convinced her first client, a woman who sold fabrics, to trust her new service. It was just one package, one route. But Zanil made sure it was perfect. Slowly, her name started to spread. By the third month, she had 5 regular clients. She'd wake up early, handle calls, sort packages, and even deliver them herself when drivers weren't available. Still, it wasn't easy. Some nights, Zanil sat in that small office, head in her hands, quietly crying when things felt too hard. There were days when drivers quit or clients paid late. Days when her phone battery was the only thing keeping her connected to her business, and it almost died. But even in those low moments, she never called her uncle. Not once did she ask for help or money. She refused. Zanil chose her path. Quietly, brick by brick, she was building her own name, her own future. No big announcements, no loud rebellion, just steady, silent work. Zanil's journey wasn't smooth like people saw from the outside. By her second year running the logistics business, everything almost fell apart. One of her biggest clients, a local textile maker, suddenly stopped paying her. That client owed her a lot of money she needed to pay her drivers and cover daily expenses. In a business like hers, missing even one payment was dangerous. She couldn't pay her staff. Packages were delayed. Drivers started quitting. Her tiny office felt colder, quieter. People in the family began talking. Whispers spread like smoke. Zanil has failed, some said. Obasai was right. Without a man to protect her, this was bound to happen. It hurt, but Zanil didn't show it. She stayed silent and focused. She refused to let her business die. Instead of quitting, she rolled up her sleeves and got to work. Zanil didn't just sit there waiting for things to fix themselves. She took on 3 side jobs. By day, she became her own delivery driver, moving packages around Lagos on her old motorbike. At night, she taught business lessons online to young students, anything to bring in money. When she wasn't doing that, she crafted handmade jewelry and sold it through Instagram, using her eye for design to pull in extra cash. Those months pushed her to her limit. She barely slept. Some days she had no money left for lunch. Her hands were always tired. But through all of it, she never once thought about closing the business. Every late-night delivery, every online lesson, every handmade necklace was one step closer to saving her dream. Zanil wasn't just doing this for herself. She carried the weight of every girl who had ever been told they couldn't. Every time she felt weak, she remembered all those voices telling her she wouldn't make it. That's what kept her moving forward, even when it felt impossible. Zanil's breakthrough came on a night she almost didn't show up. It was late and most people would have gone home, but she was still out delivering packages herself. That's when she met Jabari, a man running a new e-commerce platform in Nigeria. He had been struggling with delivery services letting him down. His packages often arrived late or got lost. Seeing Zanil arrive on time, handling everything alone with calm focus, caught his attention. They spoke briefly, and she told him about her small logistics business. Jabari didn't laugh or brush her off. Instead, he listened carefully, impressed by her story and her hustle. A few days later, Jabari called her. He offered Zanil a pilot contract. Nothing too big, just 10 orders a day to see if she could handle it. Zanil accepted without blinking. Those 10 deliveries felt like a mountain at first, but she made sure each one was perfect.
No mistakes. No dilas.
Slowly, Jabari's trust in her grew. Weeks turned into months. By the end of the year, those 10 daily orders became over 300. Zanil's tiny office was no longer enough. She had to hire 10 new drivers, all carefully trained. Some were women like her, looking for a chance in a male-dominated business. She moved into a proper office, not just a desk and chair anymore, but a full setup with computers, delivery scheduling software, and company branding on the walls. That's when she officially registered her business as Zaza Express. From the days of borrowing a phone and crying alone in a small room, she now owned an incorporated logistics company. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. Zanil was building something real, something solid. She had crossed the line from just trying to get by to leading a business that mattered. Her story was no longer about struggle alone. It was about rising, and it all started with showing up, even on nights when she felt tired, even when no one was watching. Zanil's business wasn't just growing, it was changing things. From that small office, Zaza Express started hiring more drivers, but not just anyone. Zanil chose women. In Lagos, seeing women in logistics was rare. People would stare when they saw a woman stepping out of a delivery van, clipboard in hand. But Zanil didn't care. Her message was clear. For the women who move Africa, it wasn't just a slogan, it was real. Every time she hired a new female driver or logistics coordinator, it felt like breaking another invisible wall. By the second year, Zaza Express wasn't only operating in Lagos anymore. Zanil opened branches in Abuja and Port Harcourt. Bigger cities meant bigger challenges, but she didn't slow down. More trucks, more staff, bigger contracts. Major corporations started trusting Zaza Express to handle their goods. From small market sellers to giant companies, everyone was starting to know the Zaza name. Despite the growth, Zanil stayed grounded. She wasn't the type to brag. No fancy cars or loud parties. Her focus stayed on her team and her work. Still, something inside her felt unfinished. Her family, the people she had once dreamed of impressing, barely said a word. It wasn't just about pride. It was that quiet silence that weighed on her most. Her uncle Obesai, the man whose words once echoed in her mind, had never stepped foot in her office. Not once had he called to ask how she was doing. Not even a small, well done. Zanil sometimes found herself wondering, did he even know? Or maybe he knew and just chose to ignore it. Every time she passed the framed photo of her team on the office wall, she felt proud. But there was always that small empty space inside, waiting for family acknowledgement. Zanil didn't need their approval to keep going. But still, a part of her heart wished her uncle would walk through the door one day and see everything she had built from nothing, with no man leading her, only her own 2 hands. For years after Zaza Express began with nothing but a borrowed laptop and a small office, Zanil decided it was time to show the world, and her family, what she had built. She planned a grand anniversary event, something Lagos hadn't seen from her before. The hall was booked, banners printed, lights hung. It wasn't about showing off. It was about marking the moment she had once only dreamed of, owning a real company, with real people counting on her. Zanil sent out invitations to everyone she cared about. Friends, clients, partners, and, most importantly, her family. When she wrote her uncle Obesai's invitation, she chose her words carefully. No anger, no begging, just truth. The card read, "You once said I'd never be anything without a man. I'd like to show you what I've become." She sealed the envelope herself and made sure it reached him. Days passed. Weeks. No reply came from Obesai. Others called to say they'd be there, but her uncle stayed silent. Zanil didn't let it stop her. On the night of the event, the hall glittered with lights and music. Photographers moved around, capturing smiles and clinking glasses. Her team wore sharp uniforms with the Zaza Express logo. As Zanil stood near the entrance, greeting guests, something caught her eye. There, standing by the door, quiet and unsure, was Uncle Obesai. He wore a simple gray agbada, looking smaller and older than she remembered. His face didn't show much, But Zanil knew this was a moment she'd waited years for. He hadn't sent a message. He hadn't called. But he had come. No grand speech, no apology. Just a quiet presence at the edge of her success story. Zanil smiled to herself. It wasn't about proving him wrong anymore. It was about showing him, without saying a word, that she had found her own way, and she had saved him a seat to witness it. The launch event felt like a dream come to life. The hall shimmered with lights, gold and white drapes hanging from the ceiling, music playing softly in the background. Zanil stood near the stage, her heart steady. This was her moment. On the giant screens behind her, a video began playing, a highlight reel showing everything Zaza Express had become. Women in bright uniforms loading packages into trucks. Drivers, many of them women, navigating busy Lagos streets. Shots of offices full of women managing logistics software. And finally, Zanil herself appeared on screen, standing tall and confident, no longer the quiet girl with big dreams. When it was time, Zanil stepped onto the stage. The hall fell silent. Hundreds of faces watched her. Her team,
Client.
family, and right there, near the back of the room, her uncle Obesai. Zanil's voice was calm and clear. No nervous shaking, no fear. "To everyone who believed in me," she said, pausing just enough to let her words settle. "Thank you. And to those who doubted me, thank you too. You made me stronger." Her eyes met Obesai's, and for the first time, there was no disappointment in his face.
No sternis.
Instead, Zanil saw something she had never seen from him before, quiet pride, and maybe even a little regret for all the years he had spent telling her she couldn't. After the speeches ended, as people mingled and music picked up again, Obesai walked toward her slowly. The hall was busy around them, but it felt like everything had gone quiet. He stood in front of her, looking older but softer somehow. "I was wrong, Zanil," he said simply. No long speech.
No excuses.
Just those 4 words. And in that moment, Zanil didn't need anything else. Not applause, not more contracts. That small sentence was enough. The girl once told she needed a man to succeed had become the woman who proved otherwise. And now, even the man who doubted her saw it clearly. Now, Zaza Express works in 5 countries across Africa, not just in Lagos where it all began. From Nigeria to Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and Rwanda, the company delivers packages for big corporations and small businesses alike. But Zanil's real focus isn't just expanding her business. It's helping others grow too. She now spends her time mentoring young women who want to start their own businesses. Some of them remind her of herself years ago, sitting under mango trees with big ideas but no support. Zanil gives them scholarships, startup capital, and real advice about business and life. Her story didn't stay quiet. One post on social media changed everything. A simple video clip from her launch event was shared, with the caption, "Her uncle said she'd never be anything without a man, so she invited him to her company launch." People everywhere shared it. Comments poured in from women across the world. Some said her story gave them hope. Others shared their own struggles. It wasn't just a business story. It was about what happens when someone refuses to give up. But for Zanil, the attention wasn't the goal. It wasn't about showing off or proving her uncle wrong. It was about proving to herself, and to any girl watching, that they didn't need anyone's permission to dream. They didn't have to wait for approval or someone to lead the way. They could lead themselves. Legacy, for Zanil, isn't about family names or old traditions. It's not about being remembered just as someone's daughter or wife. It's about building something that lasts, something that opens doors for others. For Zanil, legacy means creating a future where girls growing up under mango trees with notebooks full of ideas don't have to fight so hard just to be seen. Where their paths aren't blocked by silence or doubt. Because in the end, real legacy isn't what people say about you after you're gone. It's the future you help create while you're still here.